Boys and girls, Nier Automata Episode 1 is finally here at long last. After waiting for a very long time, it is finally animated, but with any series that has a lot of hype, a large community, and a lot of people excited for its release, you will have those that want to just drag it on down and be negative Nancy's on every little detail that they possibly can. It's basically the exact same thing that happened with Chainsaw Man. If anyone remembers with Chainsaw Man, there was a literal petition made to kind of redo the entirety of the anime. People were saying the art and animation of Chainsaw Man looked bad, CGI looked bad, etc. You have people that will drag down even Chainsaw Man. And let's be honest, when you look at that anime, that is... I don't know how anyone legitimately could complain about Chainsaw Man. I understand if you don't like it, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, anyways, this is a Nier video, so we need to talk about Nier. We need to talk about basically what this episode is, why some are complaining, and also why I actually love this episode, and why you should definitely give it a shot. So, first things first, just to make sure we're all on the same page, if you have not played the game, for instance, Nier Automata, or if you haven't played Nier Replicant, or any of the Nier games, or whatever, like Drakengard, whatever, do not worry. You do not need to see the original game of Nier Automata. You don't need to play Replicant. You don't need to play Drakengard, etc. You can just dive into this show completely blind, with no prior information. Do not worry. There is no worry whatsoever on that end. Just dive in free, okay? That's all. Now, to get into the actual episode and talk about this entire episode covers about exactly what I expected when it came to maybe what the first episode would do. It ends off with the whole black box explosion with 2B and 9S touching their black boxes together, which causes a chain reaction, basically like a mini nuclear explosion that gets rid of everything in a general radius. And the final part of the episode is 2B going and trying to find 9S, and 9S being there, and they find each other after the explosion. Come to find out that 9S doesn't actually have his original memories, because it's pretty much like a new one. He didn't back up his memories and data from the fight, and only 2B is the person that has actually retained everything that happened throughout this episode. More into that in a moment. But basically, the episode ends in the way I expected. However, there is a brief little detail that's done at the end here with these little puppets that kind of explain the multiple endings of Nier, and I think this is a very nice little detail that was thrown into this episode to give a lot of context to those that are, let's say, anime only. Because I know a lot of people that are probably diving into this first episode are probably anime onlys that don't know what the story is, and let's be honest, probably a lot of people after watching this first episode is confused. I know for a fact, I'm willing to bet you majority of anime onlys that have no idea what the story is, just they know about 2B, that's probably it, just design-wise, they probably have no idea what is going on in the first episode, which is fine. It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be like that, and there really isn't any cut details whatsoever in this first episode. Now, I'm not saying there isn't cut details, there is. I'll talk about in a second, but overall, you're supposed to be confused right here. You're not really supposed to fully know what's going to go on, so do not worry on that end. However, this final sequence tries to clarify that Nier, Automata, has multiple endings. Like with any game, I think a lot of us are gamers that probably watch anime, there's multiple endings in RPG games, or just different games in general. Maybe you can have a true ending, a bad ending, a good ending, a neutral ending, or there's just different random off-the-wall endings for different stories. And Nier is one of those series that has different endings. For instance, you have an ending to where, like in the game, this isn't a spoiler, don't worry, it's a stupid ending to where you just eat a fish, and, 2B dies. Just 2B dies. It's a random throwaway hilarious ending, so to speak. Stuff like that happens in the Nier game. And so when you think about, just what this tried to show, is just showing that, yes, there is multiple endings to Nier, and that you're probably going to get some of these endings throughout the series. And these endings could be just trollish and hilarious, where they just don't make any sense, to things that are legitimately serious. For instance, the way this ending is with, the puppet, 2B and puppet 9S, basically, 9S and 2B, they're talking about the endings, etc., and you literally have 2B touch the black box of 9S, which causes a chain reaction, and it destroys the entire area, and they both die. That's literally how this episode ends. And I think it's pretty funny, because it just shows a meta level to it, that yes, there will definitely be multiple endings to the show. So, let's back up and let's talk about one of the big negatives of this first episode, or what people are calling the biggest negative of Nier Automata's first episode. So, CGI. that is the first thing that I guess I should discuss, honestly, or get into the negative aspect. A lot of people do not like CGI. I've talked negatively and positively on CGI on the channel for a long time now, for years now, and here's the thing. I hate to always repeat myself, but it's something that has to be said, because such a common topic. It's something that happens so often in anime and manga, or just, like, anime in general. I don't know why I said manga, but it's a topic that happens so often that it needs to be talked about. CGI. Is it inherently bad? No, it's not. However, there is this stigma around CGI, that if something has CGI, it's inherently trash. That's exactly what people think. If they see any form of CGI, instantly they want to regurgitate, throw up, and then they start linking back to, like, this is just like Berserk 2016, or this is X-Arm, etc. And I feel like the people that make those accusations and say, like, this is X-Arm or this is Berserk 2016 has not actually sat down and watched that. I think they just have heard it in conversation, and they legitimately have not seen Berserk 2016 and X-Arm, and just truly how bad that CGI is. And then they want to put something like this up against that. I'm like, no, they're not the same. They're completely different in terms of just how bad CGI can be. And here's the thing. The CGI here, regardless of if you don't like CGI or you like CGI, if there is one thing I will agree with the negative aspect of the CGI within this episode, is that the fact that there is CGI, at least in the first episode, is a little bit concerning, but I don't think it is anything to warrant, like, this is trash, this is going to be a bad adaptation, this is not going to be a good anime. I don't think we should automatically doom post because of that. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. Now, is the CGI bad looking? No, this is CGI, by the way. What you're looking at is CGI, and obviously CGI in motion is definitely the big part of CGI, not just a still frame I'm showing on screen. Seeing in motion is the big part, and I personally do not think the CGI is legitimately bad. When you're actually watching the episode, you see it in motion. The only scene that legitimately sticks out to me in terms of CGI is definitely the scene where 2B is going through the tunnel right here. This is the only part, and this is like only 15 seconds long. It's nothing that massive, nothing that really takes away from the episode. It's literally an entire sequence that's ripped from the game. Like, if anyone's played the Nier game, and don't worry, you don't need to play it though, but if you played the Nier game, this entire sequence is literally just, you know, the beginning, opening of Nier Automata, the game. That's exactly what it is. So I don't think the CGI is bad. I don't. Maybe my overall expectations of CGI is just lower and I've gotten immunity to it. I just don't think it looks that bad. That's me. I don't. I think people that are honestly complaining about this, really, go watch Berserk 2016 and then tell me this is bad. Legit, go watch it. Don't just say you watched it. Go watch it and then tell me this is bad. On that same level. Now, anyways, let's talk about actually the episode. The story, what's taking place here, what happened, what has changed, etc. Because obviously, as someone that has played the original game, and I streamed the entire game years ago, I love this game, and I've made it very clear in, like, my videos talking about the trailers and stuff of Nier Automata, that it is one of my favorite games of all time. Like, it's top 3. It is one of my favorite games of all time. I love it. I am a big fanboy to the Nier game, at least Nier Automata. I haven't played Replicant, FYI, and I haven't played, let's say, Drakengard or any of those, but Nier Automata is easily one of my favorite games of all time, and I hold it in very high regard. And so, as someone that is a mega fan, I want it to be done well, because I would like people that are probably starting this series for the first time, that has never seen Nier whatsoever, and the only thing they probably know about it is, like, 2B and maybe her assets, so to speak, might, you know, actually enjoy this anime and be like, you know what, I want to play the game. Because I feel like even if you watch this anime, you can still play the game and enjoy it. And I want that. I want the Nier anime to succeed. I want it to be successful. I want it to be good. Because I am a fan of it, and I only want the success for the series. So, when I look at the first episode, how does it follow the story? Like, is it good? This is coming from someone that's played the game, okay? I'm not going to spoil. Don't worry. I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just going to talk about what may have been cut or rearranged, etc. So, one thing in particular, when it comes to, let's say, a game and to an anime adaptation, there's going to be discrepancies. There's going to be differences. And I think this is something that we all have to understand. As, let's say, fans of the game, if you have played the games, we have to understand that not everything from the game is going to be in the anime. The same can be said for light novels to anime, manga to anime, but especially game to anime. Because when it comes to games, it's usually about the gameplay. Truth. It's about the gameplay, it's about fighting, whatever the game is actually about. And so technically, you can't always incorporate that gameplay into the anime. Because, let's be honest, a lot of the stuff that goes on in Nier is these filler fights. Like, there's some filler fights that go on, like, 2B fights, like, just random robots and all that throughout, the game, and it's just filler enemies to kind of level up, maybe just, slow you down, maybe slow the pacing down before you get to the next story point. These type of stuff does need to be cut. And that is something we also need to realize, that some battles and themes and areas that we're used to from the game will definitely not be within the first episode, or the series in general. That's one thing I will say is cut, which I think is fine. That is completely fine to cut out, let's say, filler stuff that doesn't really matter or add really anything to the story. And another thing, too, is the actual perspectives, the POV of the game to the anime. So, here's the thing, the show already kind of explained it, so I can kind of dive into this, but basically, there is multiple endings, and when you beat Nier, like the actual game, your first playthrough, you play as 2B, obviously, but after you beat, the Nier game, you start over. You literally start over when you click new game, and you play as 9S, the guy character within this episode. You play as 9S, you get to see the whole game from his POV, and that's the difference. And this is what, at the end credits was trying to talk about, is that the different perspectives of, like, the game, or different endings, etc. And so, technically, your second playthrough is just playing the game over, but in a different character's eyes. Now, here's the thing, is that from the first episode, it seems like they're incorporating playthrough A and playthrough B, aka 9S and 2B's perspectives, their playthroughs, into one. Because there's scenes from 9S's playthrough that you see in this episode, and also, obviously, scenes from 2B that you see in this episode. So it seems like they're going down the route of mixing both routes together to go towards the conclusion of the story. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I know some might be a little bit upset about that and think like, hey, maybe we should have just gotten an anime on 2B's perspective and then eventually get a perspective on, or an anime season on 9S's, perspective. I in a perfect world, that would have happened. But at the end of the day, there would be a lot of reused footage and scenes, and people probably wouldn't like that. So I think at the end of the day, it is the best course of action to mix both playthroughs together into one for the, the ending of the series. I think that's fine. I see nothing wrong with that whatsoever. However, thanks to doing some of these scenes, like, when you, merge two perspectives together, there will be obviously some cut content. And I think that one scene in particular people were going to be talking about is this scene. So, without spoiling or giving anything away, this is the beginning of 9S's playthrough, after you beat the game the first time. And this scene, there's a lot to it. There is definitely a lot. It adds a lot of symbolic meaning, and you start to really understand the story a little bit more thanks to this scene, so to speak. But because this is an anime, and because they're mixing the two perspectives together, you won't understand the context of the scene that much. However, this can always be something brought back up again and done again in a future episode or something. It's easy to do. And one thing I will say, and I'm going to say it straight up, I don't think the anime should one by one fully follow the game. That is something that does need to be said. Because I feel like, from the way I've talked in this video, I want things to remain the same. That's actually not the case. I think trying to bring the Nier game into an anime, there will be differences, and I think that's fine, because the Nier game is aware it's a game. So, the way to do that for the anime is just to make it aware it's an anime, and they're using the medium that is anime to do it. And I think that is the direction they should go. It will never be the same, and I think that people need to understand that, and I think that's what they should just embrace. I think that that's what A1 Pictures and the staff that is working on Nier Automata should embrace and say, this is anime, it's not the game. We can follow the story, but let's not try to do the exact same thing the game does, because obviously it's just impossible to do. It is legitimately impossible. If anyone's played the game, we can all agree on that. Now, let's talk about some little things throughout this episode that does need to be talked about. So, 2B overall is, from people's first impressions, and especially when I first played the game, 2B seems very stoic. She's a very stoic character. She's all about the mission. She's all about getting things done. And then you have 9S that seems more uppity and just talking about random things and all that. And you're just like, okay, these two are kind of opposites. But there is brief moments throughout the episode where you see, like, 2B, she gets, a little bit emotional. Like, the whole black box scene, she acts a little bit different when 9S, like, they completed a mission. She's a little bit happy, even though this is technically what it appears to be the end of these two. But then you see at the end where she's, like, running towards 9S, and then, 9S is like, oh, I'm not the same person. You actually see her ball her fist up right here, which shows she does care a lot. So, like, she cares and she feels lost, maybe, that 9S doesn't remember everything that happened. And what really conveys this very well is basically the opening sequence of the episode. For instance, with you seeing her holding 9S's body. So, to kind of give context to this is actually not in the game. This is completely anime original. This entire beginning right here is completely anime original, and I think this is a good idea. It does its own way of conveying 9S's struggle and also 2B's. That this is something that 2B has been holding and carrying as a burden since the very beginning by herself, because every time maybe a mission is complete, 9S might in some shape or form die. Not completely, but some shape or form die. For instance, his memories are lost, etc. And you can definitely see that because with the little hints throughout the episode, 2B's like, you don't need to call me 2B-san. You can just call me 2B. You don't need to, add the little, I guess, accent at the end of it. You can just call me my name. And it kind of implies that they're supposed to be on friendlier terms and that they should know each other. They should be good friends. But obviously 9S is kind of slightly unaware of this. And so the ending implies what's going on here with the beginning. And I think this is a very good episode. It adds a lot of symbolic nature to it, maybe hints at what is to come. I really like this episode for that. I like this anime original scene. It's good. Now, the beginning sequence as well, it's a little bit different than how it was from the game. And I think that, once again, is very fine. It's basically just air combat, just introducing the different perspectives and fighting styles in Nier. I don't think that needed to be the exact same. So I think overall, Nier having a different beginning is fine. So overall, how is it? How is the series? Like, how is this first episode? Is it good? Is it bad? Well, I've talked a lot of good. I've talked about the bad as well. Personally, I think this is good. I feel the passion from the project. I can tell that A1 Pictures cares about this. Obviously, I don't know what's going on under the hood. I don't know if there's production issues or anything like that. I don't know. I'm not a part of the team. But regardless of whatever's going on, I can definitely feel that there is love here. There is definitely love for this show. There is definitely love for Nier, and there is definitely a lot of respect for Yoko Taro's work. That is Nier. And so I think that overall, don't let people's negative opinions of CGI sway you from watching this show. I think that if you don't like it, that's fine. If you don't care after watching the first episode, that's fine. That's your own business. That's your own prerogative. But don't let someone else say, like, oh, this is trash because the CGI is trash. It looks like a PS2 game when it really doesn't. Don't let that sway you from starting it. I'm going to say that. So, anyways, I like it. Good first episode. Gonna review it. Gonna continue reviewing it. I love it. This is probably gonna be my personal anime of the season. But I guess I'll leave it at that. If I brought you any form of entertainment and you enjoyed the video and, you smiled and had a good time, do drop me a like. It does help me out quite a bit, actually, more than you know, and it would help more of my videos pop up in people's feeds for notification-wise, etc. So I would greatly appreciate that. But with that out of the way, be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.